Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode here in NHL 22. So last episode we had free agency, and we also made a small trade, and then we also started up the season simulation. And as you can see so far, we are 20-12-1. Now in last episode as well, like I was mentioning, we made a small trade. We got rid of Ponomarev to the Carolina Hurricanes. The only reason was because he really sucked last year in the playoffs. Like, he only had one assist throughout the entirety of the playoffs. And we brought in a veteran player in Nazem Kadri to help us out, which so far has been successful. I believe he's got like 15 goals, and he's been one of our best players offensively, so that's good. But we are 20-12-1 on the season, but the only thing I do have problems with this team at the moment is we are allowing a lot of goals. We are a good offensive team, but we are the best offensive team in the league, but we're still allowing a lot of goals because of the fact that we're really offensively minded. So I don't know if we're going to make any trades in the rest of the season, but if we do, we need to probably make ourselves a bit better defensively. But then again, maybe if we simulate more, we'll be a better defensive team down the stretch. But yeah, so far so good, at least with our record being 20-12-1. Also, our goaltending, like I was mentioning, like, has kind of struggled. I don't know if it's because of our defense or what it is, but our goaltending has kind of struggled to an extent. Lenefeld, I don't know if he's just maybe a streaky goalie in the regular season. This is his first year technically as a starting goaltender, but as you can see, his first year he went 14-16-1 with 2 shutouts, a 906 and a 302. Last year he was pretty solid, actually. I thought he was not that good, but he was really good during the regular season. And so far this year he's been kind of bad with an 885 and a 3.38. But our backup in Jesper Wallstedt has been actually really good, so I don't know what the case is with Lenefeld. Maybe he gets traded away in this offseason if he's kind of like that type of goalie that's not that good. But then again, maybe he's just a playoff goalie, because last year in the playoffs he was pretty good for us up until the finals. So yeah, we're going to hold on to Lenefeld for now, but if we need to, we might make some changes to our goaltending tandem if that is going to help us out for the rest of the season. So anyways, before we start simulating the rest of the season and maybe making some trades in this episode, we do have a few comments to go over. So the first one is from HawksFan88. He says, goaltending is something to keep an eye on. Dostal in Philadelphia might be someone to go after depending on what his stats are. So let's take a look at Lucas Dostal just for an example in case we want to actually make a trade in this episode, but we won't make it just now. We'll probably wait till the deadline if we actually want to make a trade or not. But he said Lucas Dostal, who's an 84 overall, his stats are a little bit better than Lenefeld's in terms of like save percentage and goals against. He also already has a shutout this season. He simulates like a pretty good goaltender for the most part. Like, his regular season stats look a lot better than the Lenefeld's, while playoff wise he does not look better than the Lenefeld. But he has played 16 games in a playoff run before with Pittsburgh, so he has experience. But his playoff stats are way worse than what a Lenefeld's would be, but his regular season numbers are better. So I think I would still rather hold on to a Lenefeld just because he has been better in playoffs before. Dostal would be a good regular season goalie, but probably not a good playoff one. But then again, that Pittsburgh team maybe wasn't that good in that playoff run. Who knows? It's kind of hard to tell. The next comment is from Cody Legacy. He says, Jack Hughes for Dylan Guenther, and I really don't think that makes much sense for a team. Like, you guys want me to bring in Jack Hughes after I said no to the Jack Hughes. Well, the thing is with Jack Hughes is he's a center, and I don't really think using him as a winger is going to make sense. The Blues are playing him on the fourth line, which is probably why his morale is so bad. But he wouldn't really work as a winger, I don't think. We could move somebody else to the wing if we wanted to, but Jack Hughes doesn't have winger as his position, so that's probably why I wouldn't put him into our team, basically, because we already have like Farinacci, we have Hayton as our centers, so I don't think it's really reasonable to trade for Jack Hughes. But if we were to trade for Jack Hughes, let me just see what we'd have to give up for fun. Even though I don't think I will trade for him just because I don't really know where he would fit in, and we'd probably have to get rid of somebody like Kadri, who we just brought in. So yeah, see, it would fetch us, like, we'd have to get rid of our medium elite goalie prospect, which is a big ask. We'd have to get rid of a top 6 forward prospect in the AHL and McGill's and a second round pick. So now they're asking for a lot more for Jack Hughes, which is kind of weird. Maybe it's because his value's gone back up a little bit. But hopefully maybe if that asking price comes down, we could find a place for Jack Hughes, but I don't really think it's reasonable because he's listed more as like a first liner, And you look at the center depth, where is he going to play? We could get rid of Dylan Guenther like people say and move like Farinacci to the wing, but then again, Farinacci's an okay centerman. Barrett Hayton's an okay centerman. Like, I really don't think it's any use for him unless we wanted to get him for our third line, but I don't think I want to play him as a third line center, to be honest. So I don't think really we need to make any trades for somebody like Jack Hughes, but thank you for the suggestion there, Cody. And those were the comments I got in last episode. So now we can get into simulating a little bit more and see if this team can get a little bit better defensively. Hopefully they do. If they don't, we could always make some line changes to make it a little bit better and see if that helps out. But otherwise, right now, this team has been so good offensively, I don't really think it's necessary to address our defense almost, because I feel like when you have a really good offensive season, your defense isn't good, then your defense all of a sudden wakes up in the playoffs, but you never know with this team. So let's continue simulating and get up to the trade deadline. We'll go to a day before the deadline, and then we'll maybe take a look at our player stats and debate if we want to make any trades at the actual deadline itself, because I would like to get the rest of the regular season done in this episode, since now we are probably a perennial contender for the Stanley Cup, I think. At least I hope. So let's go up to February the 1st and see if we can win games. And of course, Shelly goes down right away to start this episode. He's been a little bit injury prone to an extent. Like last year, he missed a couple games. At least it's not long term. We'll just go replace player. And Alberts is back in the AHL, but was he ever injured? He must have been. Yeah, he must have been. I must have been instead of Yannick, because I don't remember if I had Yannick in. So I'm just going to take Yannick out. And there we go. We do also have a lot of guys in the minors we could call up if we really need to. And now Tukinen has been injured, so we're getting slammed with injuries to start this episode, which is not great. I think we had a lot of injuries in last episode as well, so maybe that's why we lost a lot of games and stuff like that. Wortmeyer was never injured, right, in the minors? I can't remember when players get injured and when they don't. Actually, he was injured. So I guess we will take, was it Sylvester? I think it was Sylvester, to be honest. If I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I think it was. There's a nice 7-1 win over Boston, and Shelly has returned. We managed to score 7 goals without Shelly in the lineup. That's pretty impressive. So Shelly is back. Maybe Guenther's not scoring because he's next to another sniper like Shelly. Like, maybe if we swapped Agostino and Guenther, maybe that would help out Guenther a bit. You know, we're going to try that out. Even though Agostino is a first liner, I just want to see if Guenther does better with a non-sniper like Shelly, because I don't think... Zadina's a sniper as well, which is not good, but we'll see if Guenther could do better up on the top line. And Agostino, I know, works really well with Farinacci and Shelly, so we'll just keep them together for now. See if that does better. There's a shootout win over Vegas, and Tukinen has returned. That's good news. Also, Sadikov has been phenomenal so far in his rookie season, so hopefully he gets a lot of growth this year, and then we could throw him up into the lineup a little bit higher up next season. As well as, like I said, we have a lot of guys in the minors that I wouldn't mind using in our lineup next year, which means some of these guys might end up leaving the team. Did we even win that game against Dallas? It doesn't even say the score. That's kind of interesting. It could be because of the simulation kind of stopped around there. McGillis in a second for Olaf Lindblom, or no, not Olaf Lindblom, Oscar Lindblom. Blom, not Lindblom, Lindblom in a 2/3. No, thank you. Don't have any room for Lindblom, and he also has 3 years left, which is not something I really want to bring in. And there we go. So 28, 16, and 4. So we are still winning games, which is good. Love to see that. We are still second place in our division behind the Colorado Avalanche, who are technically running away with our division. They're up on us by 12 points. And Agostino is almost point per game now, so it looks like our offense is getting even better, which is pretty surprising, because it was already like the best in the NHL. So if we were in any other division, we'd be almost like top of our division. But since Colorado is just so good, they are the top of the division currently. Interesting. Let's continue to simulate up to a day before the deadline before we take a look at some player stats to debate if we actually need to make any trades or not. I really don't think I want to, because like if I need to, I will just call up guys from the minors and they can maybe help us out a little bit. Maybe become a better defensive team like Lawrence in the lineup or McGillis, these type of guys. McGillis and Laddie Pub for JT Miller. No thank you. He has too much term, and I really don't have anywhere where I would slot him in. He'd be used more as like a depth option probably on this team, because this team is pretty stacked. This might be one of the best looking teams I've had in a while. Even though they're apparently really not that good defensively, they're just a very good offensive team. Semenov has been injured in the minors. We'll just go replace player. And Sadikov has sprained his ankle. That's unfortunate because he's a good depth scorer for us right now. We'll just go replace player, and that will put in Fortier, which has been a pretty solid depth option, I think, for the most part. JJ Moser is back for the AHL, which means we will take out Sylvester again. There we go. But so far, looks like a lot of these guys are getting good growth. Yeah, Lawrence should be in the NHL next year for sure. McGillis should be technically as well. McGillis looks like yeah, he is a grinder. Okay. He's a very physical guy, so if we want to bring in a nice fourth-line grinder, we have this opportunity with McGillis. Schulz is getting really close to being ready as well, which is nice. And Varlamov should already be in the NHL. He's an 80 overall now. Interesting. Yeah, I might end up calling up some players for the playoffs if we really find, like, if any of these bottom six guys, like Henriksen, for example, isn't doing his job, like he's a depth guy, we could always send Henriksen down and call up one of the younger guys just in case, because they'll be much more hungrier to play some good games and whatnot. Okay, so a day before the deadline, we are 35, 19, and 5, which is pretty good. We are still second place in our division, but we are only 4 points up on a wild card spot, which is kind of crazy with how this division has been. We have played the least amount of games in our division other than the Blackhawks so far, so that is also good news. And we do have a lot of players that are close to point per game, so it looks like we are still scoring a lot of goals. It's just probably our defense right now that hasn't been that good, or our goaltending maybe even. So let's take a quick look at our player stats again, our team stats, just to see what has been going good for our team so far, and if we actually need to make any adjustments. So we are the 5th best team in the league currently around this deadline, and we are not the best offensive team anymore, so we kind of slowed down in scoring, but we're only behind our divisional rivals, I guess you could say, in the Colorado Avalanche. Our goals against might have improved. Yeah, I think our goals against improved. Yeah, our goals against improved, I'm pretty sure. It's up to 3 goals against. I believe it was at like 3.17 before. So we are playing better defensively than we did at the beginning of the season, which is good. Also, it looks like our power play is getting better as well, 21.1%. So we are improving in all those areas we were looking at before, so that's actually pretty good. Our penalty kill is still one of the worst in the league, though, so that's kind of questionable. Maybe we'll make some line adjustments. And we have 6 shorthanded goals right now, which is one of the most in the league, but we are still not playing that good on the penalty kill. Apparently we're not good on the road, but we're really good on home ice, so that's interesting as well. So I don't know if we're going to make much trades. It depends on, I guess, the player stats, because if we make any trades, it would be for probably penalty killers, but maybe we'll make some just adjustments to our penalty kill unit and see if that helps us out down the stretch. But so far, Farinacci has been awesome. Hayton's been pretty good too. And Nazem Kadri's been awesome for the third line and a power play player. I like that. He has 22 goals already, which I wasn't expecting for a 36-year-old who's dropped down to a 78. Damn, he's dropping like a fly. I might have to move him to the 4th line because of his overall. Or we could call up somebody from the minors and something like that. I don't know. I mean, he's still playing good, so we could play him down on the 4th line and move Boone Jenner to the 3rd line. But Kadri is dropping off a lot faster than I would like, which is not good. Boone Jenner is still an 83, so yeah, I might move Kadri down to the 4th line, and he could still have power play time because he seems to be putting up points that way. Geeky's been actually pretty good this year, 27 points, but he is only a -3. Henriksen 2 points so far. Agostino has been really good, almost point per game. I always love how Agostino simulates. Like, he scores actually a decent amount of goals for playmakers, so he's been a pretty good player so far. Zadina 42 points, Tracy 29, Genther 20 points since being put on the first line, only has 4 goals still. He's still really struggled. I don't really know what the problem is with Dylan Genther. We might have to trade him away in the offseason, even if we win a Stanley Cup this year, because his goal scoring is not there like it should be. Like, he's been pretty streaky of a player. Doesn't really fit all our lines that well. So maybe we trade him away because he does have a cap hit for another 3 years. But I wouldn't trade him away in this episode. I'll probably end up doing that in the offseason if it's something you guys think we should do. So far, Shelley's been phenomenal. 31 goals through 55 games. Obviously missed a couple due to injury. And he is under point per game, but he is still scoring a lot of goals. Sadikov has still been really good in his first season. 26 goals, which is actually ridiculous. This guy's a really good power play player. And then Gauthier 15 points. And defense has been really solid for point production. Chikrin and Soderstrom have been awesome. And then Timmins and Samorukov might be our weakest pairing, but that top 6 pairing of Schneider and Tukinen, which are both in their first seasons, technically first full seasons, are a combined plus 36, which is nice to see. And goaltending looks like Lenefeld has improved a bit in terms of save percentage. I think, actually, no, his save percentage might have dropped off by a bit, but his goals against has improved. And Wallsted's has gotten a little bit worse, but it is what it is. So that is our updated player stats. So I don't know if we're going to really make any changes. We might make some changes to that penalty kill unit, and I think that might be all we need to really do. Maybe we'll put Nazem Kadri lower in the lineup as well because of the fact he's dropping off like crazy. Wasn't expecting that, so we'll move Boone Jenner up and see if Jenner can play better on that third line. And then Kadri still has power play time, so that should be okay. We do still have an injury to Sadikov. He should be back soon, though. And then defensively, right now, it's the Samorukov and Timmins pairing that seems to be a bit weak. But I don't think I could really change anything in the lineup to improve it a little bit. So we'll probably just leave it the same. And we'll just make some adjustments to that penalty kill unit because that's where we've been struggling. So, who's badly minus on these penalty kill units? -3 for Samorukov. Might be that first penalty kill unit, because Boone Jenner's a plus 18. Actually, the penalty kill doesn't affect plus minus, somebody mentioned before, and I almost forgot about that. What can we do to make this better? Let's just try and reunite Timmins and Samorukov on that second unit. Put Schneider up there with Chicker instead. Just make some small adjustments. See if that does anything for the penalty kill. I didn't actually put, what's his name, Shelley on the penalty kill, so I think I'm going to take Kadri off because he's dropping off a lot. And we'll throw Shelley back onto the penalty kill, just because I know he'll score some shorthanded goals if he's given the opportunity to. So, there we go, and I think that's all we're going to make for line changes. Actually, I will move Agostino back up because Genther still hasn't been good on that first line, even though I really like Agostino when he plays with Farinacci and Shelley because it seems like he does better with them than Hayden and Zadina. We could always move Farinacci to the top line center as well. But then that negates that chemistry. I think I'm just going to keep it like that, move Genther back down. We could honestly move Geeky up into the top 6 if we really wanted to, if we get rid of Genther at some point, but I think that's the only things we're going to really do in this episode. I don't think we're going to make any trades unless there's something interesting out there. Let's take a quick look at the trading block to see if there's quickly anything that we'd really want to bring in, which at the moment I don't think so. It's probably just going to be a bunch of veterans, which isn't bad, but I honestly don't think we have the room to put a lot of these guys in our lineup, so I might just sim the rest of the season still because we have guys in the minors we could call up if we really need to. Yeah, I don't think we're going to make any trades, but we'll still jump into the trade deadline and then close it just because I'm kind of curious on what type of trades the AI make because I don't really check that as often as I should. Lucas Dolstall's still on the block. How has he been simulating now? His stats are getting a little bit worse, so I don't know really what to make of him because of his playoff numbers. Like, his playoff numbers in the AHL were really good, but he did lose games. Like, we could trade for Dostal, but I really don't know if I really want him. He's making 5.45 for another 1 year after this, so we'd have to get rid of Lenefeld to get him, but I don't know if it's really worth it. So I don't know if I should make a trade for him or not. Let's just go to find trade and see if they ask for an arm and a leg for Lucas Dostal or not. Do they have a goalie in the minors? Yes, they do. They have Nick Malik down there, so that's probably why they want to get rid of Dostal. Would take Bykov, who's a top 6'4 prospect, a 4th and a 7th. It's not actually that bad of offers. A 2nd and a 3rd even is not that bad, but I'd have to get rid of one of our goalies in the trade to make it work, which means I'd have to get rid of Lenefeld, I think. And I don't think I can get rid of Lenefeld because I don't think they're going to really want him. Because since they have Nick Malik, they could just call it Malik instead. Because, yeah, they're playing both their goalies like $5 million pretty much around, so... Yeah, I don't think we're going to make any trades, even if it would help out our goaltending situation, because I trust that Lenefeld will do better in the playoffs, and if he doesn't, we could always turn to Wallstead, because Wallstead might be a better playoff goalie, who knows. So let's advance today and get into this trade deadline. Semyonov is back for the AHL, which is good. Don't remember who was out of the lineup, though. That's the problem when you have a stacked AHL team. It's just like, who the heck did I take out? I think he was right here, probably where Yannick was again. So that makes sense, and that is good to go. And we will go in as a buyer, and we'll just go continue assimilating because I'm not going to see what's out there on the trade deadline. I just don't think we need to make trades. So Pittsburgh has acquired Nolan Patrick and Philip Hollander for Jacob Slavin. So that's a big trade apparently. And the only big trade, I'll just skim through any trades that happened at the deadline, just in case you guys want to keep up with this, but I really don't care about the other teams at the moment until I play them in the playoffs. But yeah, it might have been a bad option not to make any trades, but I think I trust in the process that we could honestly call up guys from the minors if we really need to. Like, trust in our system first before other teams, you know. So Lucas Dolce will end up getting traded to Vegas with a 5th round pick. And Philadelphia ends up getting Oliver Shillington with a 3rd and a 6th. That's interesting. As well, Jack Hughes got dealt with Jaden Schwartz to the Detroit Red Wings for some prospects that looks like interesting. So Detroit has loaded up and brought in Jack Hughes, so he's gone from St. Louis now. I know I could have had him for just Ponomarov's rights, but it is what it is. I didn't really want to bring in Jack Hughes because I feel like if we played him on the 3rd line, he might still lose morale and all that, so... but that is that. Let's get the rest of the season simulated and punch our ticket to the playoffs, hopefully. And hopefully this team could play better defensively in the playoffs. As Barre Boulet is on waivers, I don't really think I need to claim anybody because we do have good depth in the AHL anyways that we could call up if we need to. As Sadikov has returned, which is going to give us a little bit more scoring. I think I might demote Gauthier to the 4th line because Sadikov with ice time and power play time, he's been scoring a lot, so... But it does get rid of the chemistry. But I am going to do that just for now. Just because I want to see if Sadikov could score more goals or not. Oh no, Barrett Aiden's been injured and the calendar glitch is happening, which is annoying. Let's just go replace player and then we're going to quit out of this so we could actually sim this a little better. And Army is on waivers, our former player. That's kind of funny. He signed back in Montreal apparently. We had him just last season, but I do not want to bring him back. But thank you. Who did it put into the lineup instead of Barrett Hayton? Because I need to make sure it's somebody that could actually take face-offs, which it is. Yep, Henriksen's okay, I guess, there. I'm going to move Henriksen down just so Farinacci's up there, because better overall would be better up there. But, yeah, that's kind of a bummer to have that injury happen to Hayton, but he should be back somewhat soon. So at least it's not long-term. But, yeah, let's continue to get the rest of the season simulated. And win some games, please, boys. Keep scoring goals, and hopefully we play better defensively going into the playoffs, because we should be a playoff team unless this team's going to just fall off a cliff. Come on, boys, get those dubs. There's a couple losses in a row, which I don't really like. There's a couple wins, though, to bounce back from that. Sadikov's full health, but he's already in. That's good. And Travis McGillis has been injured in the minors. That's not good, because that's one of those guys I would call up if we had any injury troubles. And McGillis is back. That's good news. So, Yannick, you're out. But yeah, a lot of these guys are like 80 overall now, so we could honestly call up some of these guys for the playoffs. But then again, the AHL team might be in the playoffs as well. So, okay, so we're 43, 24, and 6, and we have not clinched a playoff spot yet. We do still have another, how much games is that? 9 games, I think. Let's see, how close are we to clinching? We're only 10 points up on the Preds, which is interesting. We would be top of the Pacific Division if we were in the Pacific. That's interesting. But yeah, it seems like our offense is still kind of slowing down a little bit because we have no point per game players. Maybe we just have really good depth scoring still. Let's go to the 9th and see if we could clinch our playoff spot, which we should be doing that soon. There's another couple more wins and losses, and we have clinched a playoff spot. That's awesome. It's also good that it's not the top spot in our division, because if it was, then we'd be a first-round exit more than likely. Couple more games down the stretch, and of course they're all going to be wins, and we have taken 2nd place in our division with 106 points, and we finished with 50 wins on the season, which is pretty nice. 50, 26, and 6, and we finished 11 points back at the Avalanche. Damn, the Avs are so good. And we finished 2nd best in the league, 3rd best in the league. I like that. Even though we didn't have any point per game players on our team, which means, yeah, that depth scoring is probably going to be pretty ridiculous throughout our lineup, I would assume. Let's take a look at the team stats, and then we'll take a look at our player stats, and then we'll see who we're up against in round 1. But entire league-wise, yeah, we were the third best team, only behind Tampa Bay by 2 points, but Colorado ran away with the President's Trophy pretty much, which means they're going to be a first-round exit or a second-round exit. We were the second best offensive team still in the league, only scoring 3 less goals than the Avs, which is pretty impressive considering how much games they won. Goals against per game wise, we're still like around mid-table at a 3. So obviously our defense could still improve, but I think at least it improved since the start of last episode, and it kind of stayed where it was. But maybe it'll be really good in the playoffs, who knows. Power play percentage wise, we are still one of the better power play teams. We've finished 6th best in the league, the best being the Edmonton Oilers. And our penalty kill percentage is really terrible still, 78.6%, yet we were one of the best teams in the league. That's kind of impressive to have one of the worst penalty kills and be still one of the best teams in the NHL. We scored 11 shorthanded goals this year, though, which is one of the best in the NHL, so maybe our penalty kill unit is a little bit too offensively minded. I don't really know, but maybe the penalty kill will start doing good in the playoffs. And we had a really good home record, but the away record was kind of around 500, which is kind of interesting as well. And we're 7-3 in our last 10, which is kind of risky going in with a good streak like that. But hopefully we could make it past the first round, and hopefully we could win a Stanley Cup this year. That'd be pretty nice. But let's take a look at our player stats for the season, starting off with our centerman, John Fernacci, 74 points in 82 games. Pretty impressive from him. A little bit worse than last year, I think. Yeah, a little bit worse than last year, but better defensively by a little bit. And still a pretty successful season from him. Hopefully he does good in the playoffs, but that means he might not ask for that much this offseason because he is a UFA at the end of the season. So we will have to give him a long-term deal, which means maybe freeing up some cap space by getting rid of like Genther or something like that. Barrett Hayton, 65 points is pretty good. Boone Jenner, 52 points. Kadri had 50 points, even though he's dropped to a 78. His role is also an other forward, which means he's more than likely going to retire at the end of the season. But hopefully he could still put up some points in the playoffs. If he can't for some reason, we could always call up somebody from the AHL. Connor Geekie, 35 points. That's pretty solid from him. I don't know how that compares to last year. It's a little bit less goals as well. But I'll still take the points, I guess. And then Henriksen, 3 points in 9 games. Left wing wise, Agostino, 77 points through 29 games. Pretty solid. A lot of these guys are only like plus 10. So yeah, our defense just wasn't that great. But it could improve in the playoffs. And yeah, that's Agostino's best season yet, so he's still improving, which is nice. Zadina, 56 points, is pretty good. Genther, 38 points. He scored 12 goals, so he improved a little bit down the stretch, but still a little bit streaky of a player. I don't know if it's because he's on the second power play unit. Braden Tracy, 36 points, is pretty impressive. Really liking Tracy's play. And in Forte, 2 goals in 6 games. Then we get into the right wingers, and Calvin Shelley, 43 goals and 19 assists for 62 points in 78 games. He was a plus 27 because he did miss games due to injuries, so those were probably games he allowed a lot of goals. But that's a new career best for Calvin Shelley. He's up to now 123 goals in 241 games. And obviously we just signed him to an 8-year extension a couple episodes ago. Maybe it was last episode ago, I don't remember. But yeah, he's going to be awesome of a goal scorer to keep around for long term. And what a rookie season from Viktor Sadikov. My God, 40 goals and 9 assists. Didn't expect him to be a 40 goal scorer out of his first season. So I guess Sadikov, he needs to keep on getting a lot of power play time, and he needs to get into our top 6, and he's just going to score a lot of goals. Because between him and Shelley, these two guys I believe were drafted, they're in the same draft, 15 spots apart, and both of them are really good goal scorers, which is really nice to see. Gauthier, 23 points isn't too bad. Defensively, Chikrin really stepped up late in the game, or not late in the game, late in the season. 70 points in 82 games, that's pretty good. Soderstrom, 46, Timmins, 25, Schneider, 19, but a plus 27 from the rookie, and then Tukinen, 18 points and plus 24 from the rookie, which is also pretty good. Samorukov was a -7, so the Samorukov-Timmins pairing doesn't seem to be working that good right now defensively. And then Bodin had 4 points. Goalie-wise, Lenefeld did improve, a .901 save percentage and a 2.92 goals against. And then Wallstead also kind of improved, .913 and a 288. Not too bad. Not a lot of shutouts from our goaltenders, but we won games, and that's all that matters. Let's take a look at in the entire league quickly, just to see who did what for forwards and all that. So Nathan McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen are the best players for the Colorado Avalanche, not a surprise. Austin Matthews also up there. Best goal scorers are McKinnon and Matthews, both tied with 57 goals. Interesting. Best defenseman for points this year is going to be Chychrun, so Chychrun might have just won his second straight Vezina. Or not Vezina, what the heck am I saying? Damn, I'm half asleep here. Second straight Norris Trophy, because last year he had like 90-something points. He's definitely making up for him getting a big contract a few years ago, but he's had 2 really good seasons back-to-back. Impressed with that. Adam Fox was also up there, and Cale Makar. Best goalie this year for wins was Andrei Vasilevsky with 44 wins. Just kind of interesting that it wasn't a Colorado goalie, but Blackwood was second best. Most shutouts this year by a goalie was Vasilevsky. Best save percentage by a goalie, Vasilevsky. And guess what? Probably best goals against. Yep. So Vasilevsky is going to win the Vezina. And best rookie this year is going to be Victor Yip with 64 points. So there's a good chance that Sadikov isn't going to win the Calder despite scoring 40 goals in his first season through 75 games only, which is kind of a bummer, but at least he scored 40 goals in his first season, which I really didn't expect, so I'll definitely take that. So that is our player stats and team stats. Now we got to see who we're going up against in round 1. Hopefully it's a team we could beat, and yeah, hopefully we can make it back to that Stanley Cup Finals again. So it's going to be the Minnesota Wild, who finished 41, 27, and 14. Let's take a look at how they did during the regular season by comparison to us, and then we'll take a look at their lines. So they had 10 less points. They had worse goals for. They had a better goals against, which is interesting. So they're better defensively. Our power play was better, and their penalty kill was better. Okay, so they're more of a defensive team, and we're more offensively minded, I guess. But let's take a look at what their lineup looks like, because we have never faced them before in the playoffs. And then that will be it for this episode. So Minnesota, what do you got? So the top line of Kirill Kaprizov, Matthias Zetterberg, who was somebody that they drafted a few years ago. Hasn't been putting up a huge amount of numbers for a medium league guy, but still a pretty solid player. And Kevin Fiala, so pretty solid first line. Second line has John Reimer, another guy that they must have drafted a couple years ago. Interesting. With Alexander Kovanov, who I didn't expect to get to an 86, and David Colborn, who's an 89. So they've been drafting quite high up, it looks like, for the last few years, but they've got some good prospects out of it. Third line, they have Bjorkstrand, Cini, and Galiev, who's a low elite that they got in the second round. So they've drafted quite well. And fourth line has Marco Rossi, Emil Bemstrom, and Nino Niederreiter has returned to Minnesota, which is kind of interesting. So it's a good mix of veterans and some good young prospects. And then defensively, they have a pretty good defensive core, so I can see why they were good defensively. They have Hanifin and Barry, Korzak and Brodin, and a top 6 of Lambos and Addison, so pretty solid there. Yeah, pretty solid veteran defensive core. And best goaltenders they have is, oh my god, they have Connor Hellebuck. Yikes. That's a bit scary. So that's where Hellebuck went, because we played the Jets before, and I didn't know where he went. Well, he's in Minnesota. His playoff numbers aren't anything huge lately, but that's interesting. And they also have Hunter Jones as one of their goalies. How good has he been? Pretty solid. But yeah, definitely this is going to be a tough team to beat because of Connor Hellebuck. And that defensive core, currently Joel Eriksson Ek is out with an injury, so that might help us out. They do also still have McCabe on depth. They have Liam Foudy and Jared Spurgeon. Hopefully Joel Eriksson Ek is out a long term. Let's take a quick look at that, and then that'll be it for this episode, because I'm kind of curious if he will come back this series or not. But I really don't know who has the upper hand, so it looks like he's out till May the 3rd, which means we won't have to face him, which is good because he's out with a post-concussion syndrome. Let me take a quick look at the comparison in the overalls in the Play Now screen, because I want to see who has the better overalls in terms of offense and defense. So currently we have 92, 93, 81. They're a 95 on offense, it said, which is kind of weird because we scored a lot more goals than they did. And 88, 90. So they're better offensively and defensively than us, apparently. And we are better defensively, which makes no sense because we simulated worse defensively, they simulated better defensively, and we simulated better offensively, and they simulated worse. So I don't understand the overalls at all on that front, but it is what it is. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Arizona Coyotes franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to round 1 against the Minnesota Wild as we look to make our race back to the Stanley Cup Finals if we can. And yeah, hopefully this young team could maybe play a little bit better defensively in the playoffs than they did in the regular season. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.